Have you ever got confused about the right pronunciation of a name in British English? Especially with those vowel sounds and the way that we pronounce our T's and the fact we don't always pronounce our R's. It can be quite tricky if you're not from here. For example, this name, you might think that it's Peter, which sounds a little bit more like an American pronunciation, or you might think it's Peter or Peter, but actually we commonly say Peter. We'll cover that name a bit more later on. So in this lesson, we're going to explore 20 common first names and how we actually pronounce them in British English. Now, before we get started, a few key points. The names on this list are what some people would refer to as traditional British names, which is an ironic thing to say, as only a handful of names in current use are actually from Old English. A lot of them were added from other languages along the way, like French, or they are biblical, and so on, so on. But these names are seen as traditionally British. Another important thing to say is that names come in and out of fashion. For example, my name, Roy. You don't really meet any children with the name Roy. It's more, well, I seem to be about one of the youngest people I've ever met called Roy. It's more of a kind of grandparents' names. Now, that name may come back. You might suddenly see in 20 or 30 years' time a bunch of children being called Roy again. Now, on this list, I'm going to talk about 10 male names and 10 female names. But the thing is, some names are gender neutral, but we're going to go with the majority, the most common. So, for example, John Wayne, the actor, his real name was Marion, and Marion was traditionally a female's name. But there you have a man with the name Marion. The final point to make is that names are very personal. Some people spell them differently, some people pronounce them differently, but we're going to go with the most standard pronunciation. But for example, this name here, most commonly, it's pronounced Cheryl, but I have heard some people say Cheryl. But now let's move on to the first tricky name, and it is this one. This is Graham. 2 syllables, stress on the first, so it is G-R-A, Gray, So there is a schwa in the second syllable. Graham. The H is silent. I've heard some people say grey ham, which makes it sound like a discoloured type of meat, but this is most definitely Graham. And an alternative spelling of this could be this with the same pronunciation. So this is Graham, and this is also Graham. And before we continue, please do remember there is a free PDF that you can download to learn even more. And please do remember to like and hype this lesson as it helps other learners to learn as well. And I will say, if there are any names that are not in the 20 here, please do suggest other traditional British names that you find tricky to pronounce. I think this is a series that could roll and roll and roll. So let me know any other British names you find quite tricky. Next up, we have this name. There's a famous actor called Sean Bean. So the pronunciation of this is Sean. Sh or n. Sean. 1 syllable. So it's got that long or vowel sound, the same one we see in door. Sean. You may also see this name written like this. Sean. And I'm sure there are a lot of other spellings that I haven't considered for each of these names, but we're going with the more common spellings. Name number 3 is technically Harold. So it's got the h, a, r, l, d. Harold. 2 syllables, stress on the first. However, you don't see many people using the name Harold. More commonly, we see the shortened form, which is technically Harry. So we have Harold, which is the traditional name, and Harry, which is the more common usage of this name these days. So this form is H-A-R-E. Harry. 2 syllables, stress on the first. Harry. Name number 4 is a 3-syllable word. Benjamin. 3 syllables, stress on the first. So it's B-E-N, Ben, J, with the schwa, Benja, and then M-I-N. Benjamin. 3 syllables, stress on the first. However, you will see people using a shortened form of Benji, but that's not as common as Ben. B-E-N. Ben. But technically, the traditional form of the name, the longer form, is Benjamin. I heard this name go really badly wrong in a hospital recently where somebody was saying Benjamin. Benjamin. It is not. It is Benjamin. Name number 5 is the one we started with. It is Peter. 2 syllables, stress on the first. P-E-T-A. Peter. So we don't pronounce the final R in this word as an isolated word. It ends in a schwa. So it is Peter. We use that clear T sound. T. Peter. This one looks quite confusing, but the pronunciation of this name is Alistair. 3 syllables, the stress is on the first. Again, it ends in a schwa. We don't pronounce the R as an isolated word. So the first syllable is that short A vowel sound. The second syllable is L-A-S. And the final syllable is technically a T and a schwa, Alistair. But the thing is, because the S and the T are together, that T sound starts to sound more like a D. So it becomes Alistair, not Alistair. Although you will hear some people shorten this name down to Ali or Al. Edward. 2 syllables, stress on the first. E-D. Ed. W-D. Edward. It looks like Edward, but it is Edward. Some people just shorten it down to Ed, which is the first syllable. This name has quite a few shortened forms, but we'll talk about the long form first. This is Gareth. G-A-R-E-Th. Gareth. So it ends in that voiceless TH sound. 2 syllables, stress on the first. Gareth. Gareth. You will hear people use the shortened forms of Gary and even Gaz, which ends in that Z sound. Gaz. This word looks like Thomas, but the pronunciation is Thomas. 2 syllables, stress on the first, so you've got T-O-M, Tom, S, with a schwa in the second syllable. Thomas. It is not Thomas or Thomas. The shortened form of this word is Tom. And finally, for the men's names, we have this one. It looks like Stefan, but technically the pronunciation of this one is Stephen. So it has that V sound in the middle. And remember, because the S is next to the T, the T starts to sound more like a D. So it becomes Stephen. 2 syllables, stress on the first. You can also spell this name like this, with an actual V, which makes more sense. Stephen. A shortened form of this would be Steve. And remember to like and hype this video and let me know any other British names you find confusing to pronounce. But now let's move on to the 10 female names. First up, we have Claire. 1 syllable. I always say with a K and a L, put it together like a cl. And then following it is that air diphthong, like the air that we breathe. Do not pronounce the R as an isolated word. Claire. The second female name is Hannah. A-N-A, with the schwa at the end. Hannah. It is not Hannah. So 2 syllables, stress on the first. Hannah. Third is another one that's similar to Harold in the sense that the name Eleanor doesn't get used as much as its shortened form. So this is Eleanor. E-L-A-N-A. Eleanor. 3 syllables, stress on the first. The shortened form of this is Ellie. 2 syllables, stress on the first. This one was the name of our late queen. It is Elizabeth. 4 syllables, the stress is on the second syllable. So it's I-L-I-Z. And it ends in B-A. The voiceless TH, like at the end of the name Gareth. Elizabeth. Now, shortened forms of this include names like Liz or Lizzie. This one looks like Isla, but it is Isla. Isla, so it's I, like the thing we see with, I. The S is silent, L-A. Isla. 2 syllables, stress on the first. This one is far easier to pronounce than it actually looks. It is Phoebe. 2 syllables, stress on the first. It is E, the long E vowel sound, and then the second syllable is a B, and the shorter variant of that same E vowel sound. So it is Phoebe. This one is Louise. 2 syllables, stress is on the second. So you've got that L, U, Lou, and then E, Z, Louise. And notice we have a little intrusive sound to link the 2 syllables. So it is L, U, E, Z, Louise. It is not Lois or Louise. It has got that Z sound at the end. So the S is pronounced like a Z sound, like in the word zoo. You might hear some people just refer to themselves as Lou. Another tricky looking one is Sophie. So it is S, O, the diphthong O, and then f, E. So the PH is pronounced as a f sound. So in a word like Stephen, with the PH, it's pronounced as a V, whereas in the word like Sophie, it's pronounced as a f. So you can never trust the spelling when trying to decipher a name. Sophie, 2 syllables, stress on the first. This one is Olivia, 4 syllables, stress on the second, and this actually has 2 schwas in it. So we have it starts with a schwa, l, I, v, olive. Then we have a e, and then finally it ends with a Olivia. Olivia. And now this one is not Charlotte, it is Charlotte. 2 syllables, stress on the first. So it starts with that sh sound, the same sound we see in the name Sean. Sh. The long vowel sound. So the first stressed syllable is sha, and then the second unstressed syllable is l, the schwa, and a t. Charlotte. So the R is silent in this word. Charlotte. Let me know any other British names you find confusing in the comments below. But from me today, I just want to say thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next lesson.